There are two frankly colossal bits of news surrounding Leeds United that will potentially come to a head today. Because, as we have known for a little bit of a while now, the Canoose situation is reaching a little bit of a deadline, but Leeds United have also reportedly made a bid of around £7 million for a pretty major fullback target that I think solves the club's problems in those wide areas. But I'll get into both of those in a few minutes' time. I'll do Canoose and then I'll do the other one. But if you haven't yet, I'd hugely appreciate you subscribing. The button's down here, and then there's a like button also relatively nearby. Do those, and I will potentially stop asking. We'll have to find out. You'll have to do it to see, so who knows? Anyway, hopping into the stories. First off, we have the Bilal El Khannouss story, which is the one that we are all getting a little bit tired of at this point, but it still merits talking about because at, well, I'm guessing 11:59 p.m. on the 15th of August, which is today, the day that this video is coming out, Bilal El Khannouss's release clause is expiring. This is a release clause that will allow him to go to a club in, I believe, a top division, is I think what the terminology of it was, for I think it's something like £24 million. And at the end of today, that will come to a close. A lot of people, and I'm going to cut this one off before people start asking in the comments, a lot of people will ask, why don't Leeds just pay it? And if we wanted to get it done, we would have gotten it done. That would have been a little bit daft because you don't have an agreement from the player. Don't pay to void someone's contract if that someone doesn't want to get a new contract with you, because then you're just throwing money at someone else's transfer. Instead, we're waiting on El Khannouss's decision. And his decision is pretty big. He's got Palace interested, he's got West Ham interested, he's got Leeds interested, he had Leipzig interested for a while there, Newcastle had an interest, and then Jacob Ramsey went there instead. The El Khannouss deal is coming to a head. And I believe at some point today we will have a better idea of which direction El Khannouss is choosing to go. When that happens, I will be ready to sort of discuss it with a stream, and I hope to see as many of you there as possible, because I think that is going to be a very, very, very big story that needs to be covered. Unless it happens in the evening when I'm working. That could be an issue. Anyway, we do have the second story that merits discussion as well. Because look at Leeds United's squad last season, and you see in the fullback areas, you had Firpo, you had Bogle, you had Byram, you had Voba, who could play there, you had Schmidt, who could play there. Well, Voba's gone, Firpo's gone, and Schmidt is potentially leaving. There is a little bit of talk from the Werder Bremen side about them sort of saying, well, we hope we get a third player in. The third player would, in theory, be Max Voba, but we're not 100% sure. We've not heard much in a while. So it seems to be based on us getting a signing done. Specifically, to replace all of those left-back options so far, we have Gabriel Gudmundsson and this player, because Leeds United have reportedly made an offer of £7 million for James Justin. I've heard this from 2 or 3 different places, and most recently from Fossey Hub, which seems to be a reasonably good Leicester transfer aggregator, which is quite interesting. It's good to have. But we've got a few various leaks from a few various places that a Leeds United move is close. The specific numbers that I have heard are £7 million. It could be a bit more, it could be a bit less. Again, these are very, very early sort of leaky things. So it's not super solid, and it's not from the most reputable journalist, but I've heard it from various places that I'm like, I kind of trust you, and I kind of believe that you would be right on this sort of stuff. And I think it's the sort of deal that is ultimately what we need. He can play on the right, he can play on the left, which is the same as Sam Byram, which simultaneously he does it to a fairly good standard. He captained Leicester just the other day, and whilst he didn't have the best of seasons last year, no one did. Talk to any Leicester fan and they will look at the situation and go, well, shit. The management of the club was absolutely terrible and nobody looked good, which means that ultimately we will be in a situation where we are signing a fairly good homegrown quota-y player for £7 million, which is a reasonable bargain for a Premier League signing, especially someone who is presumably going to be the first player off the bench when it comes to it. Decent enough cover for Bogle, decent enough cover for Gudmundsson. He's less relied upon and is one of those players where it's sort of like, if you're playing him week in, week out, it's not looking fantastic. But we said the same about Bogle, because he also got relegated, came into the side and looked absolutely incredible. It could be a case of the system at Leicester didn't suit him, and he can grow and he can develop with Daniel Farke managing him, as we've seen with Bogle, with James, with countless players. Ultimately, I think this is a very, very, very good move, and I think the prospect of a potential double signing from Leicester in the next few days is a very promising one. Bilal El Khannouss brings a lot of creativity in the midfield. He can play out wide as well. I wouldn't expect him to strictly be playing as a winger because his progression often comes from passing rather than dribbling and taking players on. But he already has 2 assists this season, which is ridiculous considering his team in the league have only scored 2 goals. In addition to that, you got James Justin, who captained his side and was a reasonably solid defensive and attacking presence. I'm really looking forward to this season. And currently Friday, Monday coming up, which is the match against Everton, and I'm looking forward to it. A little bit of a note though, anyone that we announce between now and Monday is not going to be allowed to play in the match on Monday evening. The specific rules surrounding a player's availability when it comes to league fixtures is that the day before the first match of a game week, so game week being today, so Thursday, they need to be registered by noon of that day, which means anyone we sign from now isn't available until the Arsenal match. That's the one. I was trying to work out if Arsenal or Sheffield Wednesday was first. But from that point onwards, they will be available. So Calvert-Lewin, for example, if he gets announced today, will be available for Arsenal, but not Everton. Presumably he'll sit up in the stands for that one. I don't know for certain, but we'll find out. But that's the general gist. Daniel Farke's press conference is a little after 1 today. I might do a video or a stream covering that one. I'm kind of a little bit curious what he says. Specifically, the interesting note will be on Jayden Bogle. If Bogle is not fit, I think we could have some issues against Everton, but we'll have to find out because Grealish against Schmidt is a little bit of a scary prospect. I've got to be completely honest with you. Outside of that, we might learn a little bit more on signings because we know that Daniel Farke likes to be open and honest about what he expects from the board, and ultimately I think we're heading in a good direction. It might be a case of doing the cheesy thing of, what, it's a manager press conference, but also Calvert-Lewin walks in. I don't know. I don't see that happening, but imagine. Be a bit weird, but I'm kind of excited for it. Anyway, I've rambled for almost long enough. You might notice that I like to get videos over 8 minutes just because it's like a consistency thing, but it's fine. Anyway, ultimately, I think El Canoose potentially comes to Leeds. I think we're one of the better options for him since we've been in since the very beginning, and we were one of the first names linked. Whether the other interest sort of grabs him is a big question mark. Potentially, if Eze moves, he goes to Palace, but if Eze doesn't move, then I think that takes them out of the race. West Ham, I know, are in the race, but I don't know how confident they're feeling. I'm feeling okay on it. I'm like 50-50 on whether or not we get him, but James Justin, I think, is more certain. It's sort of more of a question of how long does that one take? But we'll find out. Either way, hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, pop a like in it, subscribe, become a channel member, all that fun stuff. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you later. And sorry, this was a bit of a rambly one, because it's 1 in the morning. I'm very tired. Ta-ra.